Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 297, December the 30th, 2017. Saturday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Incredible bombshell news today. Remember I told you I watched these flashpoints. We recently got, just in the last 24 hours, a major flashpoint. One of the major questions we've been trying to get to the bottom of. We now have, we believe, about 99% sure, we have the answer to. Thanks to Senator Candy Pants Lindsey Graham, who appeared on Fox News with Crying Brian Kilmeade. Crying Brian was talking with Candy Pants Graham, and Graham told him that he had just recently been in a closed session hearing and was looking at some information they've been requesting for a long time, and they finally have gotten it. And what does that information tell them? Well, it basically tells them that we now have evidence, proof of what we've known all along, which is that the FISA warrant was used to get the warrants to surveil Trump, to get the surveillance going, led to all the unmasking and everything else that was part of the deep state coup. Kilmeade basically said to Candy Pants Graham about the dossier. He said he was asking him about, was it used to get the FISA warrant? Of course, Senator Candy Pants Graham could not come out and make a matter-of-fact statement to that. So what he did, but he essentially did, and he did it by sort of talking around it, but essentially answering the question this way. He said, quote, that I was very disturbed by what the Department of Justice did with the dossier, and we need a special counsel. Let me repeat that. When asked whether or not the dossier was used to get the FISA warrant by Crying Brian Kilmeade, Candy Pants Lindsey Graham stated the following, quote, I am very disturbed what the Justice Department did with the dossier, and we need a special counsel. Crying Brian followed up again to try to pin him down a little more, to confirm exactly what he just said, and Candy Pants Graham came back one more time and said, how the dossier was used by the Department of Justice is very concerning and cannot be the new normal. One more time, quote, how the dossier was used by the Department of Justice is very concerning, and this cannot be the new normal. There you have it. That's about the best way you could probably put it without coming out and actually saying it. It's about 99.9% sure what we've always known is that the dossier was used to get the warrants to get the surveillance on Trump and his team. That is one of the two questions you have to ask before the indictments come down. And keep in mind, we're talking about treason. There is no statute of limitation for treason or for sedition, by the way. And that's what we're talking about here. Because you really have one of two questions that need to be answered to know exactly what you're looking at as far as to convene the grand jury, get the prosecutor, and know exactly what you're going for to bring this entire house of cards down. You needed to know, did the Department of Justice use the dossier to get the FISA warrant? We're now about 99% sure that they did. Next question will be, did the FBI, the DOJ, the intel community? No, it was fraudulent. Because if they used fraudulent evidence to get a FISA warrant, you're definitely going to jail. And if it was done against a presidential candidate, the president-elect, or the recently elected president, you are definitely going to jail. And in fact, the penalty for treason in time of war is death by hanging. We know the answers to these questions. We know the answer to the first one. Yes, they did use the FISA warrant, the dossier to get the FISA warrant. Second question. Did they know it was fraudulent? Well, this explains exactly why McCabe and any of these other individuals in the FBI and DOJ and the intel community are saying that they believe the dossier, even though it's ridiculous. It's the only answer they can give. Because if they say, oh, well, we really didn't believe it was, legit, we knew it was probably garbage. And what they're saying is that they used a fraudulent document to get a FISA warrant. You see, that's why McCabe and the others who are being questioned about this say that they believe the dossier was true. It's the only option they have. It's the only option they have. But the problem with that is that they're not going to be able to convince any jury in their right mind that that's the case, because they have all the resources of the Department of Justice and the FBI and the intelligence community who could sniff this thing out immediately within probably a couple days, no more than a week. They could know who paid for the dossier, who put it together, who the sources were, and who was leaking it. Of course, they were the ones leaking it. They would know that in a very short period of time. They have all the tools and resources they need to prove that. There's no way that they can sit there with a straight face and honestly get any jury to believe that they believed that the dossier was true. They also know all about Fusion GPS. Fusion GPS does smear campaigns. You pay Fusion GPS money and they put together a smear campaign and then they push it. They pay journalists to publish it, and they destroy your political enemy. And then once your political enemy is destroyed, you win, and then you take control of all the situation. You take complete control so that nothing can ever be done to get you for it, because you won. That's what was supposed to happen here. The rotten Reverend Clinton was supposed to win, and all this was going to be able to be put away. But that didn't happen, did it? Now they're stuck. No way they're going to be able to sit there in front of a jury and say that they did not know that this dossier was a bunch of crap. They knew it. And we may find further evidence, especially since we saw the texts between Peter Benstrokinus, McCabe, and Loose Lisa Page about the insurance policy. It may have be even worse. That not only did they know it was a fraudulent document, but they cooperated in creating the fraudulent document and spreading it around. There'll be other questions asked, such as did they pay Christopher Steele or Fusion GPS or anyone else to create the dossier? And that would include, did they offer to repay the rotten Reverend Clinton the money that she was spending to put it together? Because there's been a rumor that that may have been the case. My oh my. The House of Cards is about to collapse. It's hanging by its last thread. By its very last thread. Because I see no way that they're going to be able to make this argument. In fact, we had Bill Broward, the man who had hired Mr. Magnitsky to handle his case, who was, of course, alleged to be killed by Putin's people in Russia. It was Mr. Browder who testified in front of 2 different committees, which had members from 4 different committees there in attendance. And Mr. Browder told them all about Fusion GPS. Exactly what I just told you is what he told them. This is all they do at Fusion GPS. They don't do anything else. It's the only thing they do. You pay them, they create a fake scandal, and then they pass it on to all their friends in the media. That's what they do. That's all they do. Certainly the FBI, the DOJ, and the intel community would have known that. And Fusion GPS is essentially used by, they're a CIA contractor. They're used to conduct these types of operations in foreign countries. We know that Bruce Orr at the Justice Department, number 4 in counterintelligence, his wife is working at Fusion GPS. We know that Bruce Orr is meeting with Glenn Simpson and Christopher Steele. So not only did they know that the document that they used to get the FISA warrants was fraudulent, but they were involved, individuals within the DOJ and the FBI were involved in creating it and spreading it. These are serious crimes. These people are going to jail, some of them, for life. Life. We've answered question number 1. Now, thanks to Candy Pants Lindsay Graham, the dossier was used to get the FISA warrant. So the next question is, did the FBI, the DOJ, and the intel community know it was a fraudulent document? Well, we all know the answer to that. And as soon as they are forced to admit to that, and that will be very soon, as soon as they are forced to admit from that, they are done. Many of them are going to jail. Because if question number 2 is true, then it would prove that the dossier was a counterintelligence operation to conduct surveillance on the Trump campaign under the thinly disguised fraudulent auspices of a FISA warrant sold as a defense of U.S. democracy from Russia, with both the DOJ and the FBI coordinating the operation. And when it's all said and done, the individuals from the FBI and DOJ who will be held accountable, as well as those in the senior level of the intelligence community, meaning the CIA, meaning John Brennan, and probably some others, the following individuals will be going to jail. From the FBI, you will have the FBI counterintelligence people. You will have Peter Ben Strokinus, number 2 man in counterintelligence, going to jail. Bill Priestep, his boss, who knew everything. James Baker, FBI counsel, Comey's right-hand man, the FBI's top lawyer, knowing everything. He's also believed to be the man who gave the dossier information to David Corn of Mother Jones. That's why he was moved. We also have Andy McCabe, who is not only involved in knowing about it, but may have involved in creating this insurance policy, part of the plot. Sedition, treason, going to jail for life, most of these people. The Department of Justice and the National Security Division, John Carlin, who, shortly after, likely him being the man whose name is on the signature line of the FISA warrant, went to go to work for an anti-Trump law firm shortly after being the man who probably signed the warrant. He is going to jail. Stuart Evans, the man underneath him. Mary McCord, the legal liaison at the DOJ National Security Division. And of course, all their bosses, Sally Yates, all going to prison. We also have the number 4 man at DOJ, Bruce Orr. We have the FBI attorney, Lisa Page, who will be guilty of conspiracy charges and will likely spend a considerable amount of time in prison. And then, once the connection is made to the deciders, the people who had to know, who had to approve every bit of this, the house of cards will collapse. And that would be Long Mac Daddy, Barack Hussein Obama, the dishonorable dirty cop James Comey. Loretta needs to be lynched. Valerie Jarrett, Ben Rhodes, who coordinated probably most of the unmasking, the rotten Reverend Clinton. All these individuals I've just named were conspirators, co-conspirators, actors, role players, and every bit of this. When I told you a long time ago this was much, much bigger than Watergate, I wasn't joking. I was not joking. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm telling you, this house of cards is coming down. The 2 questions. Number 1, was the dossier used to get the FISA warrant? And number 2, did they know it was fraudulent? And if you want to go on beyond that, which I'm sure they will, did they have any role in creating the dossier, promoting the dossier? Much, much, much bigger than Watergate. This house of cards is coming down, my friends. Very soon. We started this journey 297 days ago. We've been walking down this trail. We've had a couple of tough days, haven't we? And we've been on quite a journey, a lot of ups and downs. We are now standing, I would say we're at the 7th inning stretch. We're at the point of the movie, the final point in this particular movie, where a lot of things are revealed and it begins to come to its conclusion. In this case, the dominoes are falling. And what's interesting is you notice, this is why, as I said, McCabe and all the rest, the only defense they possibly have is to say that they believed in the dossier, that it was true. That's why they have to say that. Because they knew they were going to be found out that the dossier was used to get the FISA warrant, and they knew they couldn't be criminally liable for using a FISA warrant, getting a FISA warrant based on information they knew was fraudulent. That is serious, serious prison time, especially when you're talking about using it not just against some guy, but against the man who's running for president, who's been elected president, and who's now serving as president. That is called treason and sedition. It is, you go to jail for a very, very long time. Again, time of war, if they wanted to press it, hanging is the penalty for treason in the time of war. There you have it. Now, some other news. Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch first requested these emails that were found on Anthony's wiener on his laptop a long time ago, back a week before the election. If you remember, the FBI discovered the laptop of Anthony's wiener, and they told us that they went through millions of hundreds of thousands or whatever emails, and they found nothing there. And so for the third time, Comey exonerated the Right Reverend Clinton. And Judicial Watch has been trying to get a hold of them emails for a very long time from that laptop. First they were told they couldn't get them or whatever, but they kept fighting, and they finally got them. They got some of them. There's many, many more to be released. They got about 10 or 20%. But already, just from going through a percentage of them, a small percentage of them, they have already discovered 5 classified emails. These are not emails that you say, well, the intel there, what they're talking about, must be classified. No, no, no. These are emails that are actually stamped classified. Classified. They were on the laptop of Anthony's wiener. Huma Abedin, of course, Wiener is already in jail, but he may be getting called back because that was on sexual perversion charges or something. These are national security charges. Now, Wiener is probably going to be drugged back in court and charged again. His wife is going to be charged for mishandling classified information. And the rotten Reverend Clinton is going to be found guilty of violating the Espionage Act. Guilty of mishandling classified information, lying to the FBI, obstruction, destruction of government records, and everything else. Do you see where this is going? Very good work on the part of Tom Fitton and Judicial Watch. Very good work. Guess who else is going to get all these emails? The Senate Judiciary Committee, the House Intel Committee, the Senate Intel Committee, and the House Oversight Committee are all going to receive these emails. They're probably right now reading these 5 classified emails, just like Tom Fitton is, and going, got him. Got him. Can't walk away from this one. Even Jeff Sessions cannot walk away from this one. He'll be sitting there looking at 5 stamped classified emails, and there's more to come that were on the laptop of Anthony's wiener. Boy, what an incredible day on TowerGate. Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General, the custodian, the man brought in to clean it up, is in a very tough situation right now. His job, and we can see from his level of experience, he spent 10 years traveling around with Bill Clinton, raising money for the Clinton Foundation and teaching other lawyers and judges how to beat the rap, how to get around laws and prosecutions. That's why he's the cleanup man, the custodian, Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General, who everybody's relying on. Not so fast. I'm sure right now he's having to make some tough decisions. He's probably talking with Soros and the Clintons and the higher-ups, Obama and the rest, trying to decide what to do. There's no way now that they can clean this mess up completely and walk away clean. Too big of a mess. Too big of a mess. Someone is going to have to be thrown to the wolves, and possibly a dozen people or more, probably a couple dozen people thrown to the wolves to preserve the deep state and preserve their God, which is the deep state. So, Michael Horowitz, the custodian, the cleanup man, is probably right now having to fix things and arrange things so that his report fingers those who they've decided must be thrown to the wolves to save and preserve their God, the deep state. He's probably working on that right now. A lot of these people, like Peter Benstrokinus, James Comey, the Orrs, Mr. Priestep, Valerie Jarrett, Ben Rhodes, they're all trying to figure out whether or not they're important enough to be spared, or whether they will be one of the ones thrown to the wolves. They will be having a tough time making a decision on what to do. Do they hang tight and hope that their neck is not one of the ones that's going to be chopped off? Or do they decide now to come forward, get an attorney, and try to become witnesses for the prosecution to save their neck? There's a lot of very nervous people right now mixed up in this, who don't know what to do, who are seeking out their lawyers, seeking out the advice, trying to find out who Mr. Horowitz, the cleanup man, the custodian, who he is going to throw to the wolves and who he is going to spare. Devon Nunez. I told you, watch Devon Nunez. Told you about a week and a half ago. Watch Devon Nunez. He's a man on a mission. He's very, very angry, and he's taken it personally. Why? Because they forced him to have to not step down, but back away from being the head of the House Intelligence Committee, because they said that he violated some rules by going over to the White House and looking at some intelligence. That was all a bunch of crap. He was finally exonerated after 10 months, and now he's back to full strength as the chairman of that committee, and he knows who stuck that knife in his back, Mr. Schiff. And in about 2 weeks, that report about who leaked stuff coming out of that meeting with Trump Jr. is going to come out, and that person is going to be kicked off the committee, Mr. Schiff. And the man making that decision will be Mr. Nunez, Mr. Schiff. Now that he's had the knife removed from his back and he's got it firmly in his hand, I expect he's going to give you a little C-section, Mr. Schiff. Devon Nunez has given the Department of Justice till January the 3rd, 2018 to produce the documents and the witnesses, or he will place them in contempt of Congress. Now, I can tell you that already, just from that little interview that Senator Candy Pants Graham did with Crying Brian Kilmeade on Fox News, I'm sure that Devon Nunez saw that and within 2 minutes was probably over at the Senate building talking to those people on the Senate Intel Committee, getting his hands on what they just got in a closed-door session. And they're all going to get it too. But he wants it now. He wants it now. He smells blood in the water. I promise you, he smells blood in the water. And it's going to be a feeding frenzy. We've never seen anything like this. That's why I did these videos. I told you in my gut many months ago, this was 100 times, 1,000 times bigger than Watergate. We are about to go through some extraordinary events in this country, my friends. It's going to happen. I know it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. But it's going to happen. There's no way that this can be avoided. They might as well get it over with. And you notice that also in the civil suits with Mr. Gubarev, you notice you have Glenn Simpson, and Glenn Simpson is doing the same thing just as BuzzFeed is doing. They're both saying, and for the same reason, that they too believe that the dossier is real. It's the only evidence they got. If BuzzFeed and Glenn Simpson come out and say, yeah, well, we really didn't believe the dossier all that much, but we went ahead and put it out there anyway, they're going to have to pay a big, big fat check. And we learned from Mr. Gubarev's attorneys that they're looking for tens of millions of dollars in damages, which BuzzFeed and Fusion GPS, no, they do not have that kind of money. BuzzFeed could probably raise that kind of money because who backs them? Billionaires backing them. But whether or not they'll continue to back them, I don't know. The credibility will be destroyed. So they'll no longer be able to publish. So they'll probably go the way of the Whigs. But you notice how the people who have everything to lose are falling back on the only thing they have, and that is that they believe the dossier was true. They're going to be proven as liars. They're going to lose those two civil suits. Mr. Gubarev's going to win both those suits against Christopher Steele and against BuzzFeed. No doubt about it. He's going to win. They're going to pay Mr. Gubarev. But for the members of Congress, they're not in a civil suit. They're going to be in a criminal suit. And they are going to jail for a very, very long time. Some of these people could go for life. Treason against the president, they could hang him, according to the law. They'll probably get life in prison. That's what some of them are doing right now. They're talking with their wife and their family, and they're saying, look, I did some things. I was involved in some things. Hillary was supposed to win. She did not win. And we made some mistakes. We did some things we shouldn't have done. And I'm going down. I'm going down. I need to prepare to make sure that you are okay while I'm spending the rest of my life in jail. Hopefully you'll still come and visit me on the weekends. Maybe I'll get some conjugal visits. That would include the Rotten Reverend Clinton. You think Slick Willie will stop by to visit the Rotten Reverend Clinton in prison? Do you think she'll get maybe a conjugal visit from Huma? No, because Huma will probably be in jail with her. No more bearded clam for the Rotten Reverend, although it could be unbearded clam because we don't know the circumstances of the. We'll let that go. Don't know if it's bearded or unbearded clam, but the Rotten Reverend will not be having clam anymore. Not least way his clam name Huma. Let's get to one more thing. Sir Andrew Wood, former ambassador to Russia, did an interview with Catherine Herridge of Fox News. He said that Steele contacted him and asked him to go to Halifax and seek out Senator Magoo. Steele needed to increase credibility of the dossier to motivate the FBI to use it to launch an investigation. Steele contacted Wood in August 2016, 1 month after the counterintelligence operation against candidate Trump began. Senator Magoo used Kramer as a way to skirt laws that prohibit politicians from accepting payment for services to foreign governments. This was all very carefully planned, my friends. This is a third story, by the way, we've gotten from Sir Andrew Wood, but I guess he knows now. Might as well just spill the beans. This was a setup. Steele obviously contacted Wood and said, man, I gave the FBI that dossier, the memos. I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything being leaked. They said they were going to leak this stuff. None of it's coming out. I'm getting real worried. Here's what I need you to do. Do me a favor. Go to this Halifax conference and seek out Mr. Magoo. Now, I've arranged with my buddy, David Kramer, his right-hand man, to make sure he's there. And Kramer is going to make sure to introduce you. And when he introduces you, tell him all about the dossier and me. This will give him credibility, or give me credibility, because you're the former ambassador to Russia. You're a former heavy hitter in intelligence. You can vouch for me to give Magoo the confidence to do this. And of course, he'll have his right-hand man, Kramer, there to make sure that he can go get the stuff from me. And I'll make sure that that happens. That way, Magoo won't be in any liability, criminal liability, for violating laws. And this is how this will all go down. And this is how we can make it all happen. You see, this plot has a lot of characters in it. and a lot of different things that were done, all of them illegal. You're wondering now, how could they be this stupid? How could they be this stupid? Well, my friends, Hillary was never supposed to lose. She was never supposed to lose. They couldn't conceive it. Hillary was going to win, and all this would have been taken care of. That is why they're all nutty. This explains why they're acting as crazy as they are, why they're going to the efforts they are going to, why they brought in Uncle Bob the Executioner and all his posse, why they brought these people in, why they're so desperate to take down Trump, why they must take down Trump, because they know exactly what the liability is. That explains everything. And that is today's TowerGate, day 297, December 30th, 2017. I will be back tomorrow on New Year's Eve with a New Year's Eve video. I will not do a video on New Year's Day, but I will be here on New Year's Eve. So, I'll be back tomorrow to continue on the journey. Thank you so much, and prepare yourselves, my friends, for that little tarmac meeting down in North Carolina with the lovely and talented Mara for a big celebration. Goodbye.